Good afternoon, a very brilliant afternoon to everyone. Thank God for your life. Thank God for our nation. Thank God for our church. Thank God for the whole world. Thank God that we are part of the history making of this time. And I know when all is over, we'll have very good story to tell in the name of Jesus. I want to welcome you again to today's life advancement and business series. All we do here is to look after the things that matter to us, address critical areas of our life, beginning from health, well-being, finance, and our businesses. So today, again, we have another resource person, as you must have seen from our publicity, to give us powerful enlightenment on something that is critical to every one of us now. So please, while you relax and then ready to learn, let's open our mind to taking all the lessons, because hearers are not blessed, it is doers that are blessed. Therefore, the things you are about to hear, they are from the mouth of experts, they are from our own person. And he's not going to call white black for us. He's going to give us as it is, as God has inspired him and by the knowledge of his career. So welcome, Pastor, welcome Babalola David, who will be anchoring the program this afternoon. I pray you are blessed in Jesus' name. And I know it will be a blessing to all of us. Babalola David, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. It's an honor to be here again this afternoon. We want to welcome every of our viewers from wherever you are across the globe. We're discussing a still important subject this afternoon. And our guest this afternoon is someone you've seen before. If you recall, a couple of weeks ago, he was with us. And there were a lot of questions that couldn't be answered because of our time, but he's here again with us. Very briefly, I'm going to tell us about our guest once again so that we know who is talking to us and who we're listening to. Okay, our guest this afternoon again is Dr. Akinshiku Ademola Oladipupo. He's a certified cardiopulmonary resuscitation resource person. He's a fellow of the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria. He's also a member of the International Society of Nephrologists and also a member of the European Renal Association. He's a member of the Nigerian Association of Nephrology. Currently, he's the head of clinical services, Healing Stripes Hospital. He's the first to commence therapeutic apheresis medicine in Lagos, and he has attended numerous international conferences and has had international rotations at the Premier University of Virginia, United States of America. So the person we're talking to today, who is talking to us this afternoon, is not a novice. Sit back, relax as we hear about the myths, the facts, and the truths about coronavirus. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome Dr. Oladipupo Ademola Akinshiku. You're welcome, Doctor.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me. Just like Pastor said, coronavirus is the topic, and we'll basically be talking about the myths, the facts, and the truth about this virus. 2 weeks ago, precisely, we had a talk about it. I'm basically going to be giving more or talking more about the summary of what we discussed the last time, so that I can give ample time for questions and response. I'm going to first and foremost say that COVID-19 is a highly transmissible infection. It typically affects our respiratory tract, meaning our lungs. It all started way back in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. Our first infected case was an Italian, and it was precisely on the 27th of February 2020. And as of today, I could tell you that worldwide, we have over 16 million cases with over 645 deaths. The first 5 nations the first 5 countries with the highest number of cases in this particular order, we have the United States of America having way over 4 million cases. We have Brazil having way over about 2.5 million cases. We have followed by India as the 3rd, Russia being the 4th, and South Africa being our own, being the 5th in the world. Nigeria happens to be the 3rd third country in Africa with the highest number of cases, with about, as of this morning, we have about 39,977 cases. Of these 39,977 cases, we still have about 16,948. About 16,948 of them have been discharged. In Nigeria as a whole, we have 856 deaths, and over the last 24 hours, we've had 438 cases. I'm going to narrow down to Lagos because that's where most of us reside, and that's where our church and our parish is. I'm not trying to be selfish. We have about 14,300 cases so far in Lagos since our first recorded case in February. 12,021 of those cases have been discharged, and we've recorded 192 deaths in Lagos thus far. In the last 24 hours, 123 cases were isolated. So far in Nigeria as a whole, we've been able to sample just 259,516 individuals. That tells us a lot. We're a country of close to 200 million occupants, and we've only sampled 259,516. Now, remember that the total number of positive cases is largely dependent on the total number of cases you've been able to test. So while we might look at our numbers as being small, it's small because it's a fraction of the sample size of the number of individuals that you've been able to test. How does this virus present? The vast majority of individuals with this virus are going to be asymptomatic, meaning majority of them are not going to present with any form of symptom. They are just basically what we can say are carriers. They act more like a medium of transmission, and more than 50% of individuals will fall into this category. Now, another 30% or thereabouts will have mild symptoms, meaning almost 80% of cases will be either mild or asymptomatic. And what do I mean by mild? We have what seemingly looks more like a flu-like presentation. You know, the catarrh, the feeling of nasal congestion, upper respiratory tract irritation, what looks more like a mild sore throat, feeling of you having to clear your throat often, or even a mild fever. Now, the remaining 20% of them are the ones that will present with serious complaints. And what we've been able to ascertain for sure is that the vast majority of these individuals are often elderly or individuals with comorbidities. comorbidities, meaning co-occurring or chronic illnesses. The illnesses that have been identified or fingered thus far are things such as diabetes, hypertension, asthma, or individuals with chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. Now, so why are we so bothered if we have just about 20% of individuals infected with COVID having severe complaints? The point is, we know that even the individuals that are asymptomatic or have the mild form of complaints or symptoms can easily transmit these infections to individuals that will have the life-threatening or the severe forms of the illness. Now, it is important for us to know that initially people were talking about the illness not affecting young individuals. Science has proven beyond doubt that this illness can affect individuals of all ages. It has nothing to do with you being a young individual or a young person as opposed to someone else being elderly. It's also important that we know that being young and being at a lesser risk of having severe form of illness does not necessarily mean that you can transmit it to individuals that will have a life-threatening or deleterious forms of the illness. So how do individuals with COVID-19, how do they basically present? Individuals with, now, pardon me, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible because I understand this is a mixed audience and I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. Now, individuals with COVID-19, more often than not, will present with cough, typically dry cough, which occurs in bouts or paroxysms, which occurs more like having episodes where it waxes and wanes. It's free, you're free from cough now. Few hours later, you could have bouts of repeated episodes of cough. You could have feeling of upper respiratory tract infections such as sore throat. You could have feeling of, having nasal congestions, catarrh. You could have a headache. You could have a fever. You could have body aches. Now, the first individual that I was opportune to see, even before it became a big issue in Nigeria, and I think that should be the third or fourth person in Nigeria, the individual had just body aches. And you can imagine you just seeing someone, having body aches, no fever, had very rarely had episodes of cough. And at that time, we were all still bothered about travel history. Have you been out of the country recently in the last 2 weeks? Or have you come in contact with individuals that had, that traveled in the last 2 weeks? And this person didn't have any of those histories. But then, I basically just had, the high index of suspicion, and we felt, we should have him screened. And upon screening him, we found out that it was COVID-19 positive. However, there are some other complaints that are not necessarily, focused or specific for a upper respiratory tract infection. So individuals could have diarrhea. I've seen individuals present with complications such as kidney problem, which is basically my own area of specialty. And I've seen other patients present with strokes. So now we know for sure that this virus can basically present in myriad of ways. But we basically expect people to, if you have complaints, please speak up as early as possible. Let's go to the hospital and have yourself tested as fast as possible. However, there are some complaints that are a bit more specific. They are not so common, but they're a bit more specific for COVID-19, meaning that if you have this set of symptoms, your chances or the chances that it could be COVID is a bit higher. It does not necessarily mean that it must be COVID. It just tells you that the chance of it being COVID is a bit higher. And such examples of such are having the inability to smell. We often do not have people complain, come into the hospital and tell you, doctor, health or any other healthcare practitioner, and tell you, oh, my complaint is I cannot perceive or I cannot smell, unless you truly have, nasal congestion. But if you have someone that does not have nasal congestion coming to the hospital and complaint about inability to smell or inability to taste, you should be a bit wary. You should want to know if this individual is suffering from COVID or not. If you see individuals coming in with difficulty in breathing, and that's almost classic, you must screen that individual for COVID. If you see individuals that that come in even with any other symptom, but says come in contact with individual that has tested positive for COVID-19 recently, such an individual ideally should be screened. Now, I've had the opportunity to also have people very close to me, had history of difficulty in breathing, and down the line, we screened the individual and it was negative. However, this individual was rejected in so many hospitals up until he felt, okay, let me call my family friend. Let me see if he can help me out on this. And by the time he plays the call through to me, we have to now start, calling hospitals and begging people to please take, because we are putting our names or our personality online. Most people that have passed on, most deaths occurred basically because some hospitals rejected the patients. Some hospitals, even our own public hospitals, and this is a fact. You go out there, you hear, all over the media that the public hospitals are really taking in patients. There was a time when Luth, as big as Luth is meant to be the foremost hospital, in Lagos, and there was a time when Luth was not accepting patients at all. They weren't accepting anybody into their premises. Luth was basically shut down for a long time without them having their clinics. Now, these are facts that you won't truly know that occurs. How do we investigate individuals with COVID-19? I'm sure we've all seen via social media and all that, where they take either the throat swab or the nasal swabs. Those are part of the ways to do it. But then we could also image the lungs, since it's a respiratory virus majorly. There are some pictorial representation that you see on imaging that is almost classic of COVID. And that's one of the ways in which you can suspect that this individual might be suffering from COVID. You could also draw the blood sample of the individual and run some tests on the blood sample. There's something called the antibody test. The antibody is a defense marker which your body produces when it comes in contact with a foreign agent. So it produces, just like the name, just like the word sounds, antibodies. So it's so it's produced when it comes in contact with a foreign agent. Other tests that you might request for individuals is basically dependent on the way the individual presents. But the imaging modalities includes a chest X-ray, which is less precise, and a CT scan of the chest, which is a bit more specific. Now, what is my responsibility in the midst of this pandemic? What is your responsibility in the midst of this pandemic? That brings me to issues such as social distancing. We need to familiarize ourselves with the NCDC guidelines and the Lagos State Task Force guidelines. One of the most important things about this virus that we must remember is that it can easily spread via aerosols or droplets. There is this issue about, oh, is it airborne? Is it not airborne? We must always remember that this virus is a novel virus. It's a new virus. It's not something that's ever been studied. It's every scientist, every clinician, every physician out there is knowing about this virus for the first time, just like the entire world is hearing about the virus for the first time. We know for sure that it affects the airway, so it has something. Definitely must have something to do with either aerosols or droplets. The difference between aerosols and droplets basically is that aerosols are tiny, so they can travel far, because since they are very tiny, they don't obey the law of gravity and they can travel far. And the virus is that small as well. Large droplets tend to drop down. What we know for sure is that this virus can stay in the air for upwards of 3 hours and can remain on surfaces, your desktop, things like that. It can remain on surfaces or door handles for days, 2-3 days or upwards. So what we're trying to do as much as possible is, if you can social distance yourself, meaning you don't stay in areas where people are crowded, or stay at least, about 6 feet or thereabout away from each other, the chances of you getting infected with the virus is reduced. Using face covering at all times, face coverings, not the chin covering or the chin coverings or the bandana that people turn it into and things like that. And then it's not about you covering your mouth, it's about you covering both your nostrils and your mouth. So it has to be something that will cover both that way, not the way you see most people do that, And then I've also seen people put on face shields, which basically covers your eyes, or basically covers your face, but does not reduce your exposure or ability to inhale particles or even the virus itself. Washing of hands, it's one thing you cannot take away from or something you must take away from this presentation. I said earlier that that the virus can stay on desktops and door handles, or where you have multiple people touching, for days. So the essence of you washing your hand is, as much as possible, to try and debulk or take off the virus in case you've touched surfaces that have been infected with the virus. Now, CDC initially said that you should do either hand washing or sanitizing. But one thing we know for sure is that we are going to use hand sanitizers. The ethanol, which is basically alcohol, in the hand sanitizer should be at least upwards of 70%. The closer it is to 90% is better. The problem is, more often than not, in this part of the world where things are less regulated, where the people that are empowered to ensure quality really do not ensure such, or really do not pay attention to the details. You find out that you could have so many people using, all sorts of agents that are not truly hand sanitizers. So what I tell my patients, my friends, my colleagues is, as much as possible, I prefer you to wash your hands no matter what it is. And I often tell people, if it's possible for you to wash your hand multiple times a day, the better. Okay. It's also important that if you are exposed, that you should please isolate yourself and get tested. I gave a talk about COVID-19 on Wednesday to company, and I remember most of them simply asked me, so how many times should I wash my hand in a day? And I really couldn't tell them this is the number of times you should wash your hand in a day, because there's no guideline that says this is the number of times you wash your hand a day. And medicine is a fact, not what I think is right or wrong. So I basically just said, wash your hands as many times as possible, as many times as you can. If there are areas where you cannot wash your hand, then please do sanitize your hands. But try and get, sanitizers from accredited centers, not just buy sanitizers from anybody. If your symptoms, however, are severe, remember I said if you think you've been exposed, you should self-isolate and then request to be tested. However, if your symptoms are severe, meaning you are breathless, you're running high-grade fever, you are having recurrent cough, or you have sore throat and things like that, or inability to eat, or you're having cramps, body aches, or you are lethargic, you're tired, you get tired easily, you can hardly help yourself, you should be in the hospital. So irrespective of how you feel, please go to the hospital. Do not say, oh, well, they say we should self-isolate. You should go to the hospital, because what we know for sure is that 1 minute you might be feeling fine, and a few hours down the line, the person is having life-threatening occurrences. So I would sincerely advise that individuals with symptoms whatsoever it is, please present to the nearby hospital for thorough evaluation and screening. Are there medications that have been approved for COVID-19? As I sit in front of you today, and as I speak to you, there is no medication that has been approved for treating or prevention of COVID-19. None. However, remember I said something about antibody earlier. What we try to do is tell people to use things that can help boost your immunity, because more often than not, most viral illnesses are self-limiting. Most viral illnesses are self-limiting, and COVID-19 is a viral infection. So taking things like vitamin C, which is going to help boost your immunity and also has antioxidant properties, okay, will help you. Right? Taking things like multivitamins will help you. Taking things like vitamin D has been shown to be helpful. Hydroxychloroquine, anti-malarials have not been shown to be helpful. They've not been shown to be helpful. Rather, some studies that have come out that try to evaluate the benefits of anti-malaria in COVID has found them to be a bit more deleterious than beneficial. Avoid stressful situations. Try to have adequate rest so that your immunity can respond appropriately when needed. There is a medication that has been used in the UK for individuals with severe life-threatening forms of COVID, and this medication is a steroid, dexamethasone. What steroids tend to do is to try and stop inflammatory reactions. And that inflammation is the way in which our body reacts to any form of illness or injury. So what we try to do is that what we know, or what we know as a fact, is the fact that when your body is exposed to the virus, your body produces some form of reaction, and it's the reaction that can actually lead to the death. So at times when we see it going out of hand and the body of the individual can no longer cope with such reactions, we try to give medication to kind of taper down or slow down the reaction, in such individuals. So an example of such medication is dexamethasone. And basically we talk about few myths about this about coronavirus, and I've heard so much about people saying that there is nothing like coronavirus. In fact, coincidentally, I and my wife went out earlier today, and we found out that at a point she was saying, wow, we can't see anybody using a face mask, and we drove for nothing less than 45 minutes to 1 hour, and you could hardly see one individual wearing face mask in Lagos. Now, that speaks volume. It means we are not yet ready to combat this pandemic, because it's the only known medium in which the virus tends to spread for now is humans. And if we do not start putting in place things to help curtail the spread of the virus, then we are all in need for it. We might say, oh, well, I live on the island, I live on the mainland, or the truth is, even the very affluent people need the people that are not affluent. You need your driver, you need your cleaner, you need your security operatives, and all these things just keeps, we need each other. That's the truth. And I'm quite grateful I'm quite grateful to the church for putting this up to try and see as much as how we can pass out as much as possible, pass out this information to help each other and help us spread the word that coronavirus is real. We've seen it kill people that we know. It killed the chief of staff to our president, and that's if money can buy life, I'm sure Nigeria will go all out to try and salvage the situation and save the life of the chief of staff to the president. But we can see that this virus is no respecter of person in any way or form. So it's important that we pass the message around and help each other cope with this virus so that we can all get this behind us. Drinking alcohol or bleach is protective. Yes, I remember President Donald Trump saying something about Lysol, which is an antiseptic agent being ingested. There is no scientific benefit to ingesting Lysol. Rather, it can lead to death and can cause more. It has more deleterious effect than any good. 5G network causing coronavirus is just all myths. It's not true. There's nothing of such. Sunlight and heat kills coronavirus. Initially, when this virus started, when this whole pandemic started, Africa as a continent was not really affected. Partly maybe because we were not ready for it, partly because we were not checking. But I remember then that I could hear things like, oh, we live in the tropics, the temperature here is so high, the virus cannot survive and all that. But as time passes by, as event unfolds, we find out that it's not true. The virus is here to stay. And if I go back and show you the figures that or talk about the figures that have been put out there, the CDC, African CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, says that we have almost 1 million, cases in Africa presently. We have 789,000 thereabout cases in Africa, and we have 16,715 deaths in totality, with South Africa accounting for, way more than half of all this. But the truth is, the reason why we have these figures is not because we do not have the virus. It's basically because we do not test enough. We play down. Everybody's trying as much as possible to politicize the whole thing the same way they are doing in even the developed world, such as United States. Once you have it, one of the other myths is that once you have it, you cannot have it again. It is not true. This initially, based on the scientific knowledge that we used to have, that once you've been exposed to a particular virus, some viruses, once you've been exposed, you develop antibodies that can, be long-lasting. So once you develop those antibodies, they are meant to be there to prevent you from having it again. But then with COVID-19, we've seen that there is a gap in knowledge. What we used to know is not always true. And that's something that medicine always holds true. Never say never in medicine. When you can say, oh, I think this is it. We never assume in medicine. Medicine is a fact. Okay? So I'm just going to basically say that, one, chloroquine does not cure COVID-19. That's for sure. We know that 100%. Gargling with salt and warm water does not cure COVID-19. Having been infected with COVID-19 before does not necessarily mean you cannot be reinfected with COVID-19. We know that the immunity, the antibodies tend to peak in the body after about the number tends to peak after about 20 to 30 days. Thereafter, it starts to decline. So we know that individuals can be re-exposed and can be reinfected. At least there's a UK study that has been published on that. Drinking alcohol as a means of prevention, it's not true. Alcohol can only lower your immunity, even worsen your response to or your ability to be able to curtail the virus. Can infrared thermometer detect COVID-19? Infrared thermometer cannot detect COVID-19. Infrared thermometer can only detect your temperature. Is there a vaccine for COVID-19 presently? There is no vaccine for COVID-19 presently. Is there a cure for COVID-19 presently? There is no cure for COVID-19 presently. Inability to smell and taste are more specific symptoms of COVID-19. Social distancing is effective in reducing COVID-19 spread. It's the main reason why we are not congregating in the church. It's the main reason why our kids are not going to school. There's nothing political about that. Washing your hands regularly can help spread can help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Garlic does not prevent COVID-19. That's true. People of all age brackets can be infected with COVID-19. That's also a fact. Being able to hold your breath, yes, I remember this. Being able to hold your breath for 10 seconds without coughing or being breathless does not mean that you do not have COVID-19. Antibiotics and antimalarials cannot prevent COVID-19. I'm going to allow us to spend the remaining about 20 minutes. Like I said earlier, I was going to give a summary so that I can give ample time for questions and answers. Thank you very much for listening. God bless us all. Hello? Hello?
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor. That was very, very informative and very detailed, I must say. We've learned a lot. And just like you rightly said, we have tons and tons and tons of questions here. We'll try to run through as many as we can. Truth is, you already dealt with a sizable number of them while you were instructing us. Okay? And so I'll just ask the relevant ones, and then we can proceed. Okay.
That's fine.
So, all right, thank you. So I have here someone wants to know, can COVID-19 be spread through food? Okay, so
no.
Say for, okay, good. Okay, so
no, there is no such thing as COVID-19, being passed from food. There is no such thing as that at all.
Okay, great. Okay, so that settles that then. Okay, so I have another question here that says, why does the physical distancing guideline stipulate 6 feet? Okay, this is coming from someone who is running a small business and believes that maintaining 6 feet distance is going to hurt his or her business. So why 6 feet?
Okay, so the essence of saying 6 feet is this. We've been detailed that the virus can actually spread via aerosols or droplets. No matter how I try to, reduce the amount of spit or saliva that comes out of my mouth, if you're able to hold up a screen or something in front of your mouth while talking, you find out that you have tiny droplets come out. And those are the ones you can see with the naked eyes. The aerosols are so tiny that you can't see them with the naked eyes. And we know that this virus, they are not things that you can see with the naked eyes. They are very, very small. They are millimeters small. So they can easily spread to individuals right in front of you. So the essence of having 6 meters is that while you are talking, we know that your droplets or the aerosols coming out from your mouth cannot travel that long to people, even when you cough or sneeze. And that's the essence of saying keep 6 meters. And that's partly the reason why you also need a face mask to cover your nose and your mouth. The essence is not to directly protect you, is to protect the people around you. Because it's not like you can't breathe in air. You want to reduce the dose. If the person is infected with the virus, you reduce the dose of the virus that has been, produced or expelled from the individual.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Okay. All right. So another question here says, if the virus is airborne, can I catch it if a carrier? Now this sounds funny, but I think it's very relevant. Yeah. Can I catch it if a carrier close to me releases gas? You understand?
Okay.
So someone.
That's okay. If the person farts.
Correct.
Okay. Now, remember we said something, that there is a knowledge gap that we've noticed with this novel virus. It's a new virus. We know for sure, or at least there's no documented evidence that it can be expelled via farting or releasing gas.
Great.
Today, there is no documented evidence of such. We do not think it's transmissible via farting, and that's also partly because for you to end up having gas and all that, so we're saying if it's something that you've ingested, right, and it goes all the way down and comes out via the anus, the stomach is acidic. The stomach is acidic, so there is no way the virus will be able to go through that acidic milieu and be able to survive that. The stomach also has so many, enzymes that denatures or degrades things in the body. I do not see the virus surviving through those entire processes before coming out with the fat.
Great. Okay, so we can breathe a sigh of relief with respect to that. Okay, then. So I also have a question here. What is the difference between self-isolation and quarantine? What's the difference? I mean, how do you distinguish the two?
Okay, they are slightly similar, but a bit different. Self-quarantining still gives you the opportunity to go into your own household or your abode. More often than not, when you tell people to self-quarantine, we mean they should stay within the confines of their house. They are still at times still able to even mingle with their direct family. Staying with your direct family, because we know that more often than not, before we even start telling you that, there's a chance you've already exposed the people in your immediate family. Now, quarantining almost always is that you are going to be taken into government custody. That's the way it sounds. That's like literally different. So you're not self-isolating with the government. You are being quarantined by the government. You can self-isolate on your own. Okay. You understand? If you listen to the news, you will see nobody saying you should quarantine yourself. People say you should self-isolate. Do you understand why the government quarantines you?
That's fine. Thank you so much. I only have a couple of more questions, which are very, very valid, I must say. Okay, so someone wants to know if drinking lots of hot drinks will stop COVID-19. So if I'm moving around, I'm doing a lot of things, but I'm constantly drinking hot drink. Will that prevent me from contracting COVID-19?
Okay, so thank you very much for the question. Hot drinks can be looked at from two perspectives. You are saying hot drinks as gin, or hot drinks as, temperature-wise.
Yes.
Temperature-wise. Okay.
Temperature-wise.
I was saying temperature-wise, there is no. One is that you remember that there's no way you can take something that is 50 degrees hot into even put that directly into your mouth. It's going to burn your throat. So when you say hot thing, what are you putting in? The body temperature itself in humans typically is less than 37.4 degrees Celsius. That's how hot the inner part of us is. And it's difficult for you to put anything other than that in without you having severe burns or something. So I don't see anybody putting in things that are truly very, very hot inside them. You put warm stuffs in, and those warm stuffs cannot denature, cannot degrade or kill the virus.
Great. Okay. So basically what this is pointing to is that we still need to ensure that we observe the precautions that have been laid down. Nobody should rely on. Exactly. Great. Okay, 2 more, and then we'll be done with the questioning. Okay, now this person is asking an either or is presenting an either or situation. This is what I mean. It says, if I maintain social distance, do I need to wear masks? On the flip side, if I'm wearing masks, why do I need to maintain social distance?
Okay, so that's a very valid question. Yes, that's a very valid question. I remember when I was trying to talk about the facts about COVID-19, I said social distancing first, and I said ensuring that you don your mask appropriately second before talking about washing your hands. Now, if you are able to do adequate social distancing without breaching that, you do not necessarily need a face mask.
Great.
You are able to keep the 6 feet distance regularly. You do not need a face mask. So you can't be in your own house, for instance, and you're on your own, and then you are putting on face mask as against the person walking on the main road. It doesn't make sense. You understand me, sir? But if you are going to be in a crowded environment, you're going to be in a space where you do not have control over, where you have people coming in and going out, and the people coming in or going out are going to be in close proximity to you, then you must put on a face mask. That's what is ideal. A face mask can be any form of covering, any form of covering. It does not necessarily have to be the N95 that's scientifically proven. It could be your normal Ankara, self-homemade cover shields or cover clothes. Remember, I said that the idea is to reduce the spread from you to others.
Correct.
It's not that it's trying to use the face mask to protect yourself.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor. Just before we leave that particular subject, let me ask this. I see a lot of people on the road while in their own car, right? Their own job, possibly with their ACs on, and they are still having their face masks on. How safe is that, and how relevant is that?
Okay, so if you're on your own in your car with your side, glasses all wound up, you do not need to use a face mask.
Fantastic.
Absolutely do not need to use a face mask. But we have a communal kind of living in Nigeria. You want to leave your office, someone might say, sir, please can I join you? Or ma, please can I join you? Now you don't have control over how that person, he or she, lives his life. So it will be advisable if you have multiple people in your car to wind down, and if you can, use your face mask.
Great. Thank you so much. That clears that. One last question before we call it a wrap. All right. So this person wants to know, this is clearly from a skeptic. Yeah. He's saying, I encounter crowds all the time when I go to the bus stop, market, office, and I have not heard of anyone that died of the coronavirus. And this person is saying, I'm beginning to join the naysayers that it's a hoax. Is there actually any evidence that it is real? And if it is, perhaps it is for the ultra rich, because, to the person it appears the news we're hearing is that those that died are those who are super rich, ultra rich, that he has not found any friends of his or any commoner, so to speak, who has died of this coronavirus. So is it real, or it's actually just a hoax? I know you mentioned that in your presentation, but just to emphasize, can you speak to that?
Okay, so coronavirus is not a hoax. That's clear. It's 100% here, and unfortunately, it's going to be with us for a while. That's the truth. There is no vaccine. There is no scientific cure as of today. Now, I understand where the person that sent in the question is coming from, but we've heard and we've seen people around us die. Because I'm in the medical profession, I've been opportune to see so many. I've been opportune to see so many individuals. Remember, I said that up to 80% of individuals with coronavirus will either be asymptomatic or have even mild symptoms. Mild symptom meaning that you just have what looks more like a mild catarrh and all that. You don't even have to go to the hospital for it. You'll be fine because it's transient. That, however, does not mean you cannot spread it. In fact, they are the ones called the super spreaders. Because if you're not aware that you have the problem, it's easy for you to keep going all around and people easily admitting you into their confines and allowing you spread that. The issue is we do not know the individual that we're going to spread it to that might end up dying from it.
All right.
You know, and those are where the problems are. Now, you look at countries such as Italy, Spain. Italy has, for a fact, the highest number of individuals, the highest number of elderly individuals in their community because their life expectancy is really, really high. And that is why it felt as if it dealt with them a lot, because we don't really have that. We look at our life expectancy in Nigeria is about 46 years. You know, you expect people to not live more than that. And you truly look around and find out people don't live into their 90s or 100s any longer. Majority, even the people that are really affluent and are able to afford care and adequate health, they live into maybe their early 80s or late 70s. Now, what's the difference? Why? So you might end up not having, you know, those, since we say that coronavirus, you know, leads to death more in the elderly cohort or subset of people, we might not have that much mortality in the elderly group because we don't even have them anyway. But then we're looking at people that have comorbidities, the individuals that are diabetic, the individuals that are hypertensive, the individual that has asthma, or the individual that has been smoking, or someone that has a malignancy. So you have all these other individuals that you can easily spread it to, and that might lead to a severe illness or even death in those subsets of individuals. What I would like to say to people is this: it is real. There is no politicking. It is real. Yes, it's going to affect so many people. It's going to kill just a few percentage of them. And if we send another maybe 10 to 20% to the hospital, yes, that's a fact. Majority of the 10 to 20% that will go to the hospital will recover. That's a fact. But we do not know those that are going to die from it. I still have my parents alive, and they are elderly, and I won't obviously want them to die from coronavirus. Since this has happened, you know, for the past how many months now? 5 months plus. I think I've only seen my parents once, and even on that one occasion that I went to their house, I did not go into the compound. You know, and I had to tell them, you have to wear your face mask, come and see me outside. They cannot visit us, neither can their grandchildren go visit them. And they need to understand that we are trying to protect them. The best we can do is to do, you know, virtual meetings or virtual calls where we say hello to each other on the phone. You know, that's the best we can do because we love them. We want them to still be here.
Absolutely.
You understand me? That's what it is.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akinshiku. It's been a very enlightening session. I must say that you highlighted some valid truths that even I myself was not aware up until now. But thank you so much. I'm sure the viewers at home, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to take precautions even more than we have been taking these precautions. Thank you very much, Dr. Akinshiku. It's been an honor having you. Thank you for honoring us with your presence and for sharing this deep knowledge with us. Thank you so much. All right, viewers at home, there you have it. For the past 54 minutes, we have been talking to Dr. Akinshiku. And I must say, and I'm sure you agree with me, that it's been a very fruitful session with him. Okay, so please, as we round up, remember that it's only about 20% of individuals who are infected that will present with severe symptoms. Only 20%, meaning that 80% will be asymptomatic, a sizable number, if I must say. Okay, so those kinds of people can easily transmit. He also told us, he reminded us again that this virus can affect any age and any gender. Okay, it is not limited to female or male. It is not limited to the elderly. It can infect any age and any gender. Also, there was this myth when the virus started that tropical temperature or tropical regions are at an advantage, and he highlighted again to us that it's not an advantage. So please don't throw caution into the wind by virtue of the fact that, okay, we have high temperature around here, so we're safe. That is not the case. And then he let us know, he reminded us of our responsibilities. Make sure you maintain physical distancing, social distancing. Make sure you cover your face anytime you are in the midst of people or anytime you are going out. I think that has been passed into law now. If you're going out, make sure you have your face mask. All right. And then he advised that we should wash our hands. And he also emphasized the fact that we should do that as many times as possible in a day. Okay. And he said, if exposed, all right, you must isolate and get tested. And he also highlighted the need for us to get our sanitizers from accredited channels. Don't just buy from the roadside. Make sure you buy from accredited channels. All right. And then please, this is very vital. Ingesting alcohol will do more harm than good. Ingesting alcohol will do more harm than good. I mean, that is because it's going to reduce your immunity. Also, remember that there is no approved medications yet. So you need to make sure that at every point in time, you boost your immunity and you avoid stressful situations. You've been watching Life Advancement and Business series of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Joseph's Palace. I want to strongly believe that you have been enlightened, you've been blessed. And as we round up, I want to remind you, please stay safe out there. Scripture says a living dog is better than a dead lion. Please stay safe out there. We know that this phase will end. This time too will pass. And everything that God has designed for us to achieve, we will achieve in our lifetimes. None of us will be victims in the name of Jesus. As a round up, we want to say thank you for tuning in this afternoon. Join us again next week, same time, 2 p.m. on the same channels, the same handles, for another enlightening episode of Life Advancement and Business series. Till then, God bless you. Stay safe.